You can. Sure you can. You can do literally anything, Eric. Eric, are you able to? There was a piece of work that we did in the spring where we reached out to 500 CMOs of of um, of consumer brands. I don't know what happened to those emails or where the responses were or any of that. Um, can you follow up and see if we can maybe touch those folks again? Or actually, Florian, do you have any feedback on that? Eric, you're the one leading. Um, oh my God. Um, I am um, finishing up the offers for the intern program. There's still like three or four more um, interviews that have to happen this week. Mahdi and Tatabi, thank you for working on that. We should have about four folks, I think, joining us. We're starting next Monday. Um, so I'll be working on that. Um, I am in the city like pretty much every day this week for the different at New York City Tech Week events. Gaurav, I don't know if you want to like tag team those events with me if we're in town. I'm doing a demo tomorrow for A16Z and meeting some investors that are in diligence, which would be nice face to face. Okay. Yeah, let's have. Okay. Great. And other than that, just working the folks through diligence. I can give an update today in during demo time as well. I need to have a working demo tomorrow afternoon, but that has not been a problem forever, so I'm not worried about that. Do we have an ETA? This is moving to AWS. So end of this week we can shut down GCP. Okay. Did we lower the costs of GCP? Because we're still looking at a pretty beefy estimate. Got it. I'll schedule a meeting with GCP to see if we can figure that out. But the Vertex costs and the compute costs and the Cloud Run costs are just bananas. And I don't understand why. Like we're still spending, $500, $1,000 a day on GCP, which just seems a little bit high. Oh, although Vertex might have been fixed. Oh, it's all compute and Cloud Run, it looks like. Well, we'll figure it out. Let me know when we can shut off GCP. I'd like to do that as soon as possible. Okay. If you want to have a session too, I'm happy to help. If I can. I don't know that I can help, but... Okay, good. Good. Okay. Um, have you worked with Pablo at all? Have you sat with Pablo at all? Yeah, send me a meeting invite and I'm happy to do it. Sure. Add Tatavik as well, because she's been wrestling. She probably knows most about the prompts which allow for interpretations of our results. Okay, nice work. I'm so excited for that capability, Simon. It, can we prove, like, when we chat with your agent, can we prove, like, the naive case, like, can it actually read the graphs? Can it actually read the summaries? It does do that. Excellent. I love that. Okay, great. In the fast tier, can we in order to maximize speed, my hypothesis is that the generation of tokens takes, 10 to 100 times as long as the reading of tokens. And we're generating a lot of tokens. In the fast tier, would it be possible to eliminate the asking for the distribution of responses, as well as removing pedantic, so that the response is only a single character? so that the LLM only generates one character. My guess is that will speed things up at least by 10x. Only because Pydantic is already what OpenAI uses internally for their API, and like I'm worried that if like a modern developer comes in and does like an audit of our code, and they see that we use the OpenAI API, and then you know, and then LangChain, and Pydantic, they're gonna think like it's gonna look a little funky. No, no, behind the scenes. Yeah, but again, if we only need one character, our response is a single character, and so having like LangChain to get a single character response is like a lot, and having Pydantic to get a single character response is a lot. It doesn't, we're opening an egg with a sledgehammer instead of just saying. In the fast version, when you make the fast version, if you do a profile of our responses, my guess is the vast majority of that profile is going to be Pydantic compliance. If that's true, if we remove Pydantic and ask for a single character response, we may be able to get that. Might be the fastest route to to speeding up our responses. It's a guess. I could be wrong. In the panel work, you can leave Pydantic because you have an array, and I guess an array is hard. In the task, I'm talking, the panel is done once in an experiment. The task is done 1,200 times, right? So when I say remove Pydantic, don't remove the Pydantic from the task that's done once. That's not where the profile of the speed is. The profile of the speed cost is in the task response. Book a 4 hour session with me. Book 4 hours front to back, no breaks. We'll do it together in 4 hours, and we'll do a before and after test. I will cancel any meetings I have to do this with you. Joaquin just went. Laura, with the watching of the videos, was there any content that you think we can kind of chop up into 15 or 30-second clips to test on LinkedIn? Subodh. Yeah. Can you when going through the objective of watching the 9 hours of videos was not just to watch it, but it was to find these 30, 15 or 30-second clips so that we can chop it up and then promote it. Okay. Will you Laura create additional 15 to 30-second video clips out of our existing content? Okay, great. Nice work on getting case studies, Michelle. That's really good. We've been needing those for a while. That's really going to help us. Is the user okay with us promoting them, using their logo, all of that? Nice. What other feature? And is there a ticket? What? Say that again. That's making sure that the undersampled groups are oversampled. Got it. And so the hypothesis there is that the reason we lack subgroup variability is not because the prompts are too big, but because the sample size is too small. How? What's wrong with that? Oh, oh, you're saying that we don't actually pull from the country populations? I see. Got it. Are you working with Joaquim on that? Are you guys working together? Yeah, because you guys are kind of coming at the same or a similar problem. Okay. Um, can we spend some time instead of kind of working on the back end? Can we spend some time? I'd like us all as a group to be a little bit more full stack. Right now we have this concept of like back end and front end, which is not really a modern developer concept. Like we kind of want to make sure that everyone is full stack. I know that Hadi did a lot of work making the UI really kind of like a pleasure now to work with. Um, some of the things that the customers are asking for are the concept test, or the ability to like understand um, the latent variables. It would be great if we could, as a group, like make sure that those projects are 100% completed, which is going to require us to be a little bit uncomfortable with front end work. How is it? Okay. Nice work. Nice work, Hadi. Thank you for saving us. But if I put the brand in, oh, I see. But wait, that doesn't make any sense. Because if I want to understand like, uh, if yeah, but that doesn't make any sense. That's if I want to know like what makes a good like Tesla Model S, right? I want to compare that Tesla in the market simulator against other similarly priced luxury electric cars. If I'm comparing the Tesla Model X to a Cybertruck, that's not like that's not a reasonable comparison. Interesting. So if I put multiple brands, then you'll do the same quality, the same product across. So, I see. I see. And if I put no brands, you'll also look at competing brands. But only when I put one brand, it will compare the lines across the brand. I see. Got it. Yeah, that would be. Is there a way to like read the prompt and kind of like figure out the intent of the user and then kind of funnel things that way instead of having like a strict like flow chart? Because I'm like a lot of, not a lot, but what I'm seeing more and more in like the VC world is everything's kind of agent based, and people are misusing the term agent all the time. But it's like I set the objective, and then the system goes and like achieves the objective through context, whether you call it an agent or not or whatever. Like, can we think about that type of framework a little bit more? Interesting. Simon, that might be another project for you. Yeah. Florian, have you spent some time with Simon at all? No. Yeah, because I noticed we're starting to get this like agentic experience in dev. Like you type something in dev and like the responses that you get back are quite varied. Like, oh, you didn't define your product, you didn't define your objective, you didn't define your role, right? And so you kind of like really push back and now we're left in this weird state where like half of the experiment is defined in these like static checkboxes and then half of the experiment is defined in this like really well designed why prompt, and it's unclear like why is it a different format for different parts of the experiment, or should we move it all into one or the other. But that, if it's confusing for me, I can guarantee you it's confusing for other users. Yeah. All right, we'll get there. Nice work, Joaquin. Nice work, Florian. Well, that is helpful. I mean, if we get to the point where we have, I don't know if we need Subodh here, right? But if we get to the point where we can run experiments quickly, right? We can be a little bit less careful, and we can run 10 experiments in parallel and kind of see where there's a lot of variance explained and like drill in that way. Running one experiment at a time is like not the right pattern for us. Right. 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 I mean, what we have now is like the expensive version. We're giving away for free. I mean, the latent variables, that's like our whole product. That's like, that's the best part. I met a company this morning called Aviato of Silicon Valley fame, and they have like an enrichment data source that they want to give us as well. But they're like, I need to be careful what I say because we're being recorded, but their product is pretty much like terms and services violations as a service. They like have these scrapers that like scrape all this stuff that I know there's no API for, and then they just offer it for, for 20 grand a year. It's a very sketchy business model. I don't know if we want to use them, but we can get that kind of data if we want. I'd rather not use them. I'd rather use like other sources, but the data is available. Yeah, exactly. Marty, what do you think? Is going what? Sorry, say that again. Oh. Can I ask, Hadi and Joaquin, when you guys do that, can you guys update the system diagram? Because I don't know a lot about the new concept testing workflow, but it feels like there's a new workflow or a new like process that we've kind of hacked together. So can we just make sure that we update the system diagram so that we can follow along at home? I would love for it to use the same flow if possible, so that we don't have like multiple interfaces depending on the use case, right? Like our objective, like if we want a good design pattern, we want to have a very small number of APIs that act as interfaces to experiment design, synthetic population, execution, and reporting. If we have multiple APIs and multiple interfaces for each of those big four blocks, it's going to become a mess, right? So I know there's like the microservices world, right? Horizontally scalable stateless architecture, and we want to definitely have that behind the scenes. But like within the systems, we would like to have clean interfaces, so we can have microservices in the back, but we need kind of like very very clean interfaces in the front. Ideally, something that we could then give an MCP tool to, and then have an experimental design agent use. Yeah. Just because like right now if we pull our population from the census, we have one workflow. If we pull our population from LinkedIn, we have another workflow. If we do an experimental design for concept testing, we have another flow. Like and what I'm worried about is that none of it is in the system diagram, and this is all kind of like, whispers of code and best practices, passed on from down high, and it's not like documented somewhere. Yeah, that would be helpful. And if we could get a demo of like the new flow, that would be helpful, because I'm scared to ask, and at this point we're like close to releasing, and I know it's not the right time to ask for documentation. Ideally you want to give a demo when you're 20% complete, so you can get input from the team early. If you give a demo right at the end, it's too late to make any changes. You want to demo early and often when it's broken. Demo while you're still embarrassed of the product. If you're not, Steve Jobs had this quote: "If you're not embarrassed by the first release of your product, you're releasing too late." Sure. It, you're right. You're right. I messed up that quote. You're right. You're right. You're right. Yep.
I'm not hearing anybody talking. Are y'all?
Guys,
No one.
waiting for the this our main thing. She didn't have actually done it. It's taking time, so let's continue with the minutes. So we have in here we have
You have poor
many
connection,
images.
Hadi. It's really hard to hear. Sorry.
Okay. So we have a final step which shows all the previous users selected or given data to show it. We are sending all this data to the backend. Uh,
Does this go to the same experiment execution endpoint?
yes.
Beautiful, beautiful, Hadi. Excellent. Does it work?
Well, right now, the result is not what we get from this experiment. It's like a dummy one because it's different from what I get from the backend. We need to check, or maybe Subot should be there to check.
Guys, we want everyone to be full stack. We can't. Our job is to make have less work for Subod. Our job is to take work away from Subod. Like the last, like 3 of the last 4 people were like, I can't do this without Subod. That's gonna be frustrating if I was Subod, right? We want to remove work from him. We want to make his work life more joyful,
Mhm.
not make him the bottleneck for all of us.
Mm.
What do you need Subod for?
To confirm which data format should we display, because right now we are having this static data in the UI and it's different than what we have it what's returning from the backend. Yeah.
Okay, let's do this. Let's take a first pass at doing it ourselves. Let's do our best ourselves. Maybe work with Florian or Pablo or Tatevik, and then we'll give Subod something to react to. Right. But let's put in
Okay.
effort to do our best internally.
Okay. So right now we have this UI for the result of concept testing. It's dummy field.
Got it.
Yeah, so I will be working with Wakim to get it up and running, and if
Okay, that looks nice. Do we have an ETA on when that will be ready?
I mean, I wanted to finish before what I was working on, just for latent variables, so that Tatovik has something good to work with. Yeah, I can put that before the other task that I had to do, like with regards to the fast, good, etc. tiers. But yeah, maybe I'll need some time to finish this before, and then we can talk about it.
Okay, great. Great. We have our sprint ending this week on, let's say, Wednesday. Start thinking about what you guys want to do for the next sprint. It sounds like there's a handful of really kind of really powerful capabilities that we're thinking about. Running the experiments quickly, getting the international data working, getting the concept testing working, getting the latent variables working. I would say of those, the most important is probably the latent variables, and then the concept testing, right? So I think those are the two features that we've been working on for the longest. So if we can get those finished this sprint, we can start thinking about how to visualize for next sprint. So who's owning the latent variables? Getting that 100% complete front end all the way to the back end.
I mean, that's so I'm just like doing this error checking in the back end, and then it's downstream Tatovik and Subod. They're working on that and for displaying the results. So that's all in the R Shiny, R analytics part.
Beautiful. And then for the concept testing, who's owning concept testing?
So I mean, I worked in part of it, but it was mostly Subod and Mari, who have the complete overview on the back end, and I guess Hadi now on the front end.
Okay. I'd like us to stop making this back end front end distinction. That's not a with the velocity of like vibe coding and with the velocity of like AI supported coding right now, like that's we need to own the entire product front to back. Everything needs to be kind of customer experience focused, UX focused, I should say. So
By the way, Avi.
Yeah.
Sorry. You said at some point we had Cursor Pro and Copilot Pro.
Yeah, everyone should have Copilot, the VS Copilot. Okay. Cursor we have to buy for people, but if you want it,
Okay.
We'd love.
Okay.
We should be using it.
Yeah, the Cursor I don't think we have because I logged in with Subconscious and it was in the free tier, but I'll try the Copilot.
Yeah, let's schedule a session and we'll get you both of those. We can do it in our 4-hour session. I want to have a coding session with you. Really only because I've been asking for this like Pydantic removal experiment for speed for like 6 months, and everyone seems to think it's impossible, and I want to understand why. My instincts are probably wrong.
Yeah, I'll make sure to give you what you need, Avi, because I also want to investigate a bit more and really see in terms of like speed, LLM failures, pricing, because I mean failures are a big thing, right? If you have 10% of the experiments failing, like I don't know how in terms of the optics for the users.
So it's not that 10% of the experiments fail, it's the 10% of the tasks fail. And like, who cares? Like in the real world, 50% of your tasks fail, right? So like, we lose 10%, we lose, who cares, right? Like, we should decide like where the balance is, right? Like, are we willing to have a 10x faster experience for the user with 10% fewer experiments? Like,
yeah, but 10x faster one feeds for sure.
Or whatever, whatever it is. You know, like we need to understand internally like where those trade-offs are.
Yeah. First, we need to see the results, and then we can decide based on the results.
I still now that we have a measure of subgroup variability, like my guess is the smaller the prompt, the greater the subgroup variability. And I'm probably wrong. There's
Yeah,
probably
I mean, in terms
a
of
balance somewhere.
yeah, that's also something to measure, size of input prompt. But I think Subodh was saying it was around like 10-15%.
What was
How
10 or
much it
15%?
increased the pydantic part. Um, we'll get those numbers.
It's not yes, it's like a whatever 30% increase in the size of the prompt per task, and it's like a 500x increase in the size of the tokens generated. Sorry, 500x increase, excuse me. So like 30% on the NLU and then 500x on the NLG.
In terms of the size of the output, I don't think so. But we'll see.
It's an
We'll see.
experiment. It's, honestly, like this should we need to be using like the weights and biases reporting capabilities, and this is exactly the type of thing that weights and biases reporting is designed for.
Yeah, we don't need to go there. We can just do everything before.
I know
but
we
you know
can,
something.
we need to use weights and biases. Weights and biases is like the Ferrari of experiment tracking.
Yeah.
And like I know the founder, and I've used it for the last 10 years, right? Like we're not using it at all.
Yeah, you know something that's a bit disconcerting is that we don't have any, template working code for testing just one of the endpoints. Like people are just testing everything manually. So and also to run these experiments. I mean, to be good to have a template where you can just like run this endpoint like with different variables twice.
That's what weights and biases does. We just haven't set it up right. That's exactly what weights and biases is set up for. And I think Florian came closest. Florian did an exercise where he took our human baselines and he ran them against like a half a dozen different language models.
He's repeating those experiments at some point. Because soon, right, Florian? Because
Sorry, could you repeat?
You're repeating the runtimes of the LLMs, the experiments on the human baselines at some point, right? Because there's such a discrepancy that we really need to check again with the latest models that we have.
Yeah, but Florian can't be the guy doing that. We all need to do that. Like every time we add a feature, we all need to do that. Like if we ask for the distribution of responses, we need to run it against all the human baselines. If we add Pydantic, we need to run it against the human baselines. If
that's CI/CD. That's CI/CD, but we don't have we don't have testing CI/CD packaging in Python. But yeah.
Exactly.
We should have that, but it's the current state of the company. The code needs to be reformatted, linted, a lot of things.
It's not that. It's we need to learn how to use weights and biases. Like every quarter, I ask the team, have we taken a weights and biases introductory course? And everyone's like, yeah, we should do that, and then nobody does it. The weights and biases will blow your mind. It's literally our entire business. Design an experiment, define an experiment, run the experiment, get the results, hyperparameter tune the experiment definitions per result. That's our business. The reason we use weights and biases as a system of record is so that we can do the optimization using weights and biases. The last thing I want us doing is designing our own hyperparameter optimization. It's like we're rebuilding weights and biases. It's like using OpenAPI and LangChain and Pydantic to like classify a response letter. It's like belts and suspenders and, rocket powered pants. We only need one. We use three.
I mean, there's some places where maybe this hyperparameter tuning would be helpful. But in this case, it's just like running tests one thing against the other. It's not like just pydantic versus non-pydantic. We don't need like to be tuning hyperparameters. But
That's one of the hyperparameters, pydantic versus not. One of the hyperparameters is the distribution of responses. One hyperparameter is the language model used. One hyperparameter is the number of tasks we ask for in response. One of the hyperparameters is, do we include latent variables? These are each hyperparameters.
yeah, sure. I mean, the sample size would be one, a good one to test, right? I think right now it's just like statistically, it comes out of the statistics, like how much is enough to have something significant, but maybe increasing it would be better.
But that's not our measure of goodness. Our measure of goodness is the Manhattan distance on the unit baselines.
Yeah.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
This is like, it reminds me of college when someone's like, oh, okay, now do gradient descent. And you're like calculating gradient descent by hand using the integral. You're like, oh my God, there should be a package. And then you figure out the package and it eliminates an entire semester's worth of, by hand code. That's like when we move to weights and biases, we're going to be like, oh, we should have been using this from the start. But the fact that we're doing it by hand will help us eventually, I think. We'll see. All right, guys, we are over time. It is so great to see everybody. We are solving the hardest problem, really, I think, in science, which is understanding human behavior. I can't think of a more difficult problem to solve. So any little signal that we have is a win. Yeah. All right, let's go full stack, work in teams, work in groups. Did everyone go? Everyone went? Yeah. All right, guys, I'll see you.